confuses people.
Is it the reason you're putting on that t-shirt having happiness is flying me?
Yes, this is happiness is filling me. It's from Acts 13:52. You know, happiness is biblical, you know. It's joy, joy in the Holy Ghost. Yeah, so it's spiritual. You know, it's a good spirit that exudes confidence, and through happiness that you can get confident in whatever you're doing. If you're happy with what you're doing, rest assured you'll always be confident.
Wow. Before Pablo is Pablo,
yes.
When he's Chimuli, yes. Kenneth, where does your life start from?
That's a very good question. I was born and raised by an amazing couple, Mr. and Mrs. Isingoma, and but they passed on, you know, they crossed over when I was at a tender age. So I was 10 years old, and then I was raised by my maternal uncle, who passed on the year before last. May he so rest in peace, and his dear wife. My maternal uncle was called Robert Mushagara, and his wife Joan Msime Mushagara. They raised me from the time I was 10. So for me, I can say that they played a very focal part in my life and my growing. So I went to school to Macnon Kindergarten. It's now deceased, I think. It's now a Macnon suit, so it's a hotel somewhere. Then I went to Shimoni Demonstration School. It's also deceased.
Here in Kampala?
Yes, it is now a kingdom.
Kampala kingdom.
Yes. Then that's the year my parents died, and then I went to Bomba Primary School in Imbarara for my P3, and then that's when my uncle lost his job, and I went to Buranyanji Boarding Primary School, where I finished my P7. So you can see my trajectory is urban-rural migration, exactly. From the city to the village.
From Kampala to Mbarara.
So I went to Buranyanji Boarding Primary School, where I did my primary living examination. Then I went to Mbarara High School, Bugumena Man, the School of Hope, where I did my 6 years. And then I went to Namasagali University, which is now Busitema University, and that's where I graduated with a degree in mass media journalism and creative writing.
Why do you move all the way from Mbarara to Busitema, from Namasagali University?
That's a very good question. I always wanted to be a journalist. I was raised watching Barley Francis, you know. I just, there's something, even at the age of 4, 5, I was passionate about news. Imagine a 5-year-old, 6-year-old who loves news. And so I used to see the likes of Toya Kilama, Peter Swilike Kisa, I see Danny Chaze, I used to understand, you know, and Peter Arereng. And there was something about news that I really loved, and I always wanted to be a broadcaster, you know, to be on TV reading news, you know. And so when I was growing up, as part of our career guidance, they said for you to be a news anchor, you had to do journalism. And I was extremely passionate about it. In high school, I was an editor of our newspapers. So when I finished my, I missed the mark of doing journalism just by the skin of the teeth. And so my career was opting to give me become external. Now, when I understood the course, it has figures, mathematics, and me and math, we are enemies. I mean, I don't like...
You take different directions.
Yeah, why find X? Everybody's, why find X? They're telling us avoid your X. So they're saying find X. You know, I've never understood that whole kind of stuff.
X is already there, but they tell you find it.
Yes, and then there's something about math that I didn't like. You know, figures, why do you figure out figures? Just leave the stuff. Let's just continue with life. So, I opted to go to UMI, Uganda Management Institute. While I was in the process of going to Uganda Management Institute, I'd even been admitted to go and do a diploma in journalism. That's when my cousin Kwezi Kaganda, who performs with Fun Factory, came and told me, but why are you going to do a diploma when you can do a degree in journalism with those points? So he tells me there's a university in Namasagali. So he takes me, and I met Father Grimes, and the registrar then was Anne Namiro, and she's now based in the UK. And they said, no, you come and do journalism. I mean, you have good points. Why? That's how I went to Namsagali. You know, it's called Namsagali, but people call it Namasagali. It's derived from when the train, you know, the train used to go to that space, and because people had never seen the train those days, so the Basoga used to run to see the train. Then they'd ask him, they are going to greet the train.
The train.
Said, kuna Msagali. So that place became Namsagali.
Oh.
Yes.
So how did you find life in Busoga and life in Mbarara? You know, comparing it, it's a bit parallel. This is a different language and all that.
Well, the beauty is that I knew Luganda. I knew Luganda because my first 10 years I was in Kampala, and so I was speaking only English and Luganda. And by the time I went to Mbarara, I had to do a crash course on Runyankole. They took me there was a nursery school called Koruizi Nursery School. That's why we learned Runyankole. They say, Yana ye, ni ye, sana u, nusu, yesu, you know. Ana eh. So that's how. So I had a background of Luganda, and you know Luganda and Lusoga, they're closely related, you know. So I could hear properly, but I took some time off. You know, I love languages. So I took off time to understand how they speak, and it was quite interesting. Omusa adali kujawa, I'm like alagawa. And the only thing that confused me was one, because in Luganda it's emu, and in Lusoga it's endala.
Yeti and Dala is another one in Luganda.
Yeah, so that's just like Runyora and Rutoro, you know. They are close, but yet slightly different. I found the people of Busoga were quite accommodative, you know. They accepted us, and I loved the fish because we used to stay by the lake, you know. I don't know how many times I showered in the bathroom. They're very limited.
You used to go to the lake?
Yeah, we used to go. I mean, just get your soap and spoon. Go and shower. There are no environmentalists to disturb us. Yeah. So I love that. I love that. We used to swim across the lake. Yeah, you go to the island and then you come back. With the water just brings you back to the tide. I enjoyed every moment in Busoga. And yeah, they gave me a name in Busoga, Mungobi. Ngobi.
So that is another name added on the four.
Ngobi. Yeah, Mungobi.
Well, after Namasagali.
After Namasagali, I come to Daily Monitor. There was a gentleman called Odobo Bichachi, and I come to him and I tell him I'm a graduate and I just want to write for the Monitor. And he says, you can be a freelancer, you can freelance. And says, you're from Namasagali. Those people like dancing, entertainment. So he takes me to the entertainment desk, which was headed by a lady called Elizabeth Kamel at the time. And Elizabeth says, okay, go just bring stories. If we like it, we publish it. If we don't like it, just keep looking. So I started freelancing for the Monitor. And I would go to places. I would go to Theatre Exclasia, you go to Pride Theatre, you go to National Theatre, spaces where you know you're going to find entertainment. And my first story ever was when I wrote National Theatre used to have what they call the jam session. It used to happen in a room. And this time they had moved it from the room to the green. They are going to start performing in the compound. And I wrote that article, and that was my first article that came in the Monitor. Jam session on the. Oh my goodness! I tell you, I cut it out. I even framed it. I was like, goodness me, this is my story. This is my song, praising my Savior all that day long. Yes, and I was very happy. I was very excited. I kept on writing stories. Well, sometimes they would. I remember there's a time they published my story, but my byline wasn't there. Byline is your name. Yeah. By our report, they put by our reporter. I was like, wow, I've been cheated. But yeah, in my heart I was like, at least
it's
I wrote it. By the time they published the story, the way I'd written it, it shows that I'd understood the format. Nothing much was edited. And it was then that around 2004, Theatre Factory was beginning. Theatre Factory was beginning. And so I go to the editor and I tell her, there's a group of guys fresh from university who are being mentored by Philip Luswata, and they're starting a comedy outfit. And she said, okay, follow the story. We need the hook. Get the hook. And so I got to look for the hook in the theatre, and I ended up being hooked up. And so I loved the creative process, the way they were creating stories. I loved the conversations. And because I was taken up, I also started contributing to the stories. So, and when I contributed to the story, I said, but you guys, you have stories. Why don't you just come and act? That's how I joined the theatre industry.
And
then I started acting. But then we used to perform at a place called TLC on George Street. It's now a car bond. It's There's no here. So it was owned by a Mzungu man called Dr. To. Now, Dr. To didn't understand what we were doing. We told him, once we can make your people laugh. He said, you come and show me what you want what you want to show my people before I invite you. He brought his wife and son. Now we are 8 actors and an audience of 3. That was the first time in my life to see performers more than the audience.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah, so we performed for him. He said, yeah, this is good. You can start performing here. So that's how we started performing comedy there at TLC. And then it became a public secret that there are some guys, they used to call us, all of our guys, you know, like, there are some fake guys there. Like, they thought we had lost our, like, cuckoos, So guys would come, just see mad guys who come and they are wearing costumes, multicolored. They look like adverts, you know, color your world today. And so, and then there was an SMS company which had just started called Africa, or I think it was called African something. It used to be on Spear House. So they started sending messages for us, telling people to come and see what we are doing. And then Dr. To...
And you paid them to send the messages, or it was an offer?
It was an offer. We had a friend who used to work there. Then the owner of the space realized that a business opportunity and started charging people to come and watch us. And then the place became small and said, you guys, you have to add more money. And because we couldn't afford that, so we went to National Theatre. Now, around that time, that's when the private sector was booming. We had private TVs coming. And one of the TVs in Uganda comes and says, we want to put your shows on our TV. So they said, we have no problem, you come and film. So they'd come and film what we are doing at National Theatre, put it on TV, and they called it Barbed Wire. So people started watching that, and that's how people started knowing about it. Before we knew it, it became pro-gi for people. They would come to the theatre. Now, around that time, that's when they had started a radio drama called Rock Point 256. Rock Point 256. And they were looking for people who could act and translate the English into the local languages. And so they said, but there's this guy who acts at National Theatre, and sometimes he's a Mtoro, sometimes he's a Mnyoro, sometimes he's a Muganda, sometimes... So this guy can... So they called me and said, can you write this stuff? I said, yes, I can. So I was taken to become a script writer for Young, Empowered and Healthy. It was called DR. And so that meant that I couldn't rehearse with Theatre Factory people. Yeah. And it was very clear, if you don't rehearse Monday, Tuesday, you can't act on Thursday. And because I didn't have that time, so I couldn't perform. But I had created an understandable audience. And my first nickname was Rukandema. Because I acted as a villager from Bushenyi called Rukandema. So people kept asking, who is Rukandema? Who is Rukandema? And so Philip tells me, you know what? When we are moving from one skit to another, there's some time there. Can you come in and crack a joke or two? I said, okay, that's no problem. Just a filler, so that people can know that I'm still with them. So when they would go to change, I'd come on, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Did you see what happened in the news? Yes, Temangalo was taken. NSS, remember that time of the NSF scandal? Yeah, it is Nadia Sente Sagala Fitina, NSSF. But now it has developed, has rebranded. I think now it can be Nafuna Sente Sagala Fitina. Because they have been giving people money. And so, people, as time went by, people started liking the segment, the link, more than
the show.
They're like, when is this guy coming back to give us another joke? And then Philip said, you know what, why don't you just put all these jokes together and they become a set? Then you can share it with the people. And that's how I started stand-up. I just knocked it. I even had no idea that I was doing stand-up comedy.
You just did
I just jumped into it, and then before I knew it, Pablo became a hit, and voila, the rest is history.
Where did you get the Pablo name then?
I used to work on the radio, called 104.1 Power FM, and when I was on Power FM, the producer by then was called Belinda Obura, and she didn't like my first name, Kenneth. Said, Kenneth is not a radio name, yeah? So she says, we need to get a name that is funky. I said, which name? I don't have a name. So she said, I shall call you Pablo. She was reading a novel, and there was a Pablo guy. So she named me Pablo. So every time I would get on radio, I would introduce myself as Pablo. Yo, this is yours truly, Pablo. Don't wreck it, don't mess me. Give me a call on 0414-34-2020 or send me a text message on 0782-893-104. Like, it was like a musical. So that's how. So people used to listen to Power FM and watch us perform at on National Theatre. Put two together. I said, but you sound like this Pablo guy on radio. I'm like, yeah, I'm the guy who does the Pablo thing. They're like, oh, so you're Pablo. And that was the birth of Pablo and the last funeral rite of Kenneth in the entertainment industry.
Indeed, it was the last funeral rite. So,
yes.
You're now at the National Theatre, and you just bring in a segment.
Yeah, so when it started, we did that, became barbed wire. Then in 2009, there was a stand-up competition by Mnet, MultiChoice.
Yeah.
And so they were looking for the funniest person in Uganda. And for me, that was an opportunity to showcase my craft. And we were around 200 people who came in. They selected 20, and we had the competition. It was extremely stiff. By God's grace, I won the competition, walked away with $10,000 and the bragging rights as king of comedy. And so that for me was the springboard of my path as a stand-up comedian. Because in 2009, that's when I started the Pablo Live Show. And I started it because I wanted to mentor those who wanted to do stand-up comedy as an independent craft and as an alternative form of entertainment to the industry. And when we started it, we put it on one of the private TV stations. Woo! We started doing tours, started getting invitations to different countries. One of the comedies that went viral is the one we did in Kenya in 2011. It was called Night of a Thousand Laughs. It went viral, started getting invitations to the US, Canada. Ah, goodness me. It was just a roller coaster, invitation after invitation. And then in 2010, I decided to tie the knot with my cheeky, lovely sugar baby girl, Alika Espeniero Files Prontos. Karen Hasasha Chimuli. We got married in 2010. And I'm glad to say we have 2 sons.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 sons, amazing boys who have, actually the apple didn't fall far from the tree. They have a funny bone. They're extremely hilarious. Actually, I bought shades because the future is bright. I look at that and I'm like, oh, they're there, they're gonna make it. Yeah, so that's how I started my family. And
now at this whole time, have you now lost your dream of being a journalist?
No,
maybe leaving Bale Francis's footsteps?
Well, I never got to be a news anchor, but my compensation, because along the way, your dreams change. But what remained clear was the journalism path, because even when I was on radio, I was writing for The Observer. I was their humorist at the time. I wrote plays. I wrote plays that were performed at the National Theatre, which also has a journalism background. I used to do creative writing as a course unit. Remember I told you I did a degree in mass media, journalism, and creative writing. So it still has the component of journalism. I still write plays. And then I've been writing books. I've just finished writing a comic book called Everything About Nothing. And
everything about it. But
yes.
I'm just amazed by the titles. I mean, let's start with when do you write Madness is Coming?
I wrote, to be honest, it must have been 2012 when I wrote Madness is Coming. And it was a play I thought about after I'd done a course at the Sanders Institute. And it's in Salt Lake City, Utah. And they had tasked me to write something out of the box, something. So I wrote a play about ghosts.
Ghosts.
Yes, because they told me to think out of the box. Now, what else is out of the box apart from ghosts? So it was about this lady who the play was strictly 1 hour. And why 1 hour? Because this lady had been found guilty of killing her husband, and they were going to hang her, and she had only 1 hour to die. But when they're going to hang you, they call a priest to pray for you, and you ask for what you want as a last wish. And she asked for 5 plates of food with different things on it. And why she did that is each plate represented one of her former inmates who had been killed. And so she was talking to the food, telling them her story, and telling like she looked at them as
the people.
The people, yes. And so where the conflict is when he's talking to the food, the priest thinks she's talking to him. And the priest doesn't understand. So the disconnection, the confusion is what makes the drama. Plus the madness is coming. Like, it's absolute madness. You read that script, you just see madness. Then I also did one called Kiss No More. Kiss No More was a political play about why you say Kiss No More. The main actor was called Kiss. It was short for Kisitu. Yeah, Kisitu No More. So, but you have to
to make it a bit
catchy. You want people to you make it catchy for them to to enjoy the space. Yeah. So that was about a politician who wants to be an MP but is having an affair, and then in the middle of the campaign it's revealed and he throws in the towel and turns to God.
So,
yeah, so
Kiss No More.
Kiss No More. So, and then Kisitu No More. Yeah, and then
what about
Madness is Coming?
No, not Madness. Madness is Coming.
One Night Stand.
One Night Stand.
One Night Stand is about a lady who had been with her husband for 10 years, but they hadn't had a child. The husband used to be a captain on the ship, but then she was having an affair with the captain's brother, and so when she gets pregnant, she knows that the captain is coming, and she says, I need to sleep with him so that after 9 months he can think it's his child. But then news comes in that the ferry couldn't make it and won't be coming for the next 3 months. Yeah, and so the conflict is there. How do I keep this pregnancy? Do I remove it? Do I stay with it? And she ends up committing suicide. It's a tragedy, but the husband forgives her in her last moment. Yeah, so
even when she's dead.
Even when she's dying, because what happens? He later came. He said, actually, we got a speedboat. Yeah, and he finds her there when she just hung herself, and she's telling him the story. But we're trying to bring out forgiveness, reconciliation. Yeah, so my plays are strictly, to the end of it, I believe in the Great Commission. Yeah, bringing souls. I want somebody to watch and then they think about what they've gone through, and then you never know, they could also give their lives to Christ. So there's always an altar call after the plays. So those are the 3 outstanding plays that we are performing.
You've not told us much about everything about nothing.
Everything about nothing. Oh, it's a book I wrote about fictional and real stories, but they're just for laughs. Like, for example, my encounter with the night dancer, how I met her.
In other words, it's a collection.
It's a collection,
of very many pieces.
Yeah, it's a collection of very many pieces. About my NGO girlfriend, I'm talking about the best man who turned out to be the night dancer. So there are very many things in there. Yeah, so I call it everything about nothing. I call it everything about nothing because everything comes from a background, from a backdrop of nothingness. And so that's everything about nothing. So even when you're reading, don't take it serious. It's just for laughs.
There is a play you acted about Samuel Beckett.
Oh,
I don't know whether you were imitating this other one, Waiting for Godot.
That was Waiting for Godot.
Waiting for Godot.
Yes, I did Waiting for Godot at the National Theatre and also at LCT, the Lincoln Center Theatre in New York. I love it
because when I see the books you're talking about and I see Waiting for Godot, they're almost
it's theatre of the absurd.
Yes,
it's a black humor. So I found it very funny, those 2 characters, and when we performed at the National Theatre, I enjoyed myself. and so I love humor regardless of, unless the one I don't appreciate is under the belt humor. That's vulgar, that is obscene. I do believe there's more above the belt. Yeah.
What about when do you get casted into Luanda Magere?
Luanda Magere, this is how I acted in Luanda Magere. When I was at the university, my cousin Kwezi Kaganda was a teacher at the college. And so they were doing the play. It was called, Jesus, remind me. It was called Legend of the Scepter. And I loved it. And I told my brother, I really want to act in a play. He said, don't worry, shall create one for the university. And that's when he brought in Luanda Magere. And I loved it because there's a part, I used to act as the guy who speaks while whistling. Yeah, and whistles while speaking. Yes, can you whistle while speaking and speak while whistling? Oh yes. What does a spitting cobra find on the back of a tortoise? So it was like, I love the character. It was crazy.
It's indeed a crazy
Yes,
character.
yes. You can speak while whistling. So, so that's how we did the Luanda Magere, performed at National Theatre.
Did you just choose this character all?
No, they gave it to me. They gave it to me. The cast director at the time was called.
Had he seen you do this before?
No.
He just casted
Yeah,
you.
so yeah, he cast me, and then when they gave us an opportunity to develop our character. What do you think? How would you speak? I said, I can speak while whistling, and whistle while speaking. Yeah. So actually, Luanda Magere, I went ahead to perform other plays at the time. Some were commissioned plays, by NGOs, which I never put on.
Who wrote the play you directed? A Prologue in Heaven.
Prologue in Heaven is we got it from a book, Prologue in Heaven. I don't remember the real author, but it's a book like how you see. It was a book I don't remember the author, but it wasn't Ugandan. It was I forget the author, but I think Sophocles, something like that. I don't remember the author very well, to tell the truth. But Prologue in Heaven was a very nice play. Yeah.
What is this Prologue in Heaven?
It's a conversation in heaven. I mean,
who went there? And
like when you
witnessed
die,
this
what are the
conversation?
conversations?
Oh.
Like that song of I Can Only Imagine. I can only imagine what would happen when you go to heaven. When you see God, what will happen? Will you fall down to your knees? Will you just stand in awe of Him? Will you shout hallelujah? So that's something like that, the conversation. What are the imaginations of what's happening there?
Wow. No, this is beyond studying creative writing, but you must have been creative yourself.
You had to also to think about the character, the role, and at the times of when the play was written, how do I fit in? It's an ancient play. Yeah.
And I think this is much more that our people right now or currently need to learn, and if they want to maintain.
Yes, I think we're living in a very fast world. I tell you, this generation is so fast. The lifespan of a news story is 48 hours. Look at Uganda. You're there, you're saying Sewanyana has been arrested, while you're still trying to find out why Sewanyana has been arrested. Hey, bad black has done this. Hey, bad black, I was just trying to find out bad black. Hey, there's a bomb. Which bomb? This story has gone. There's a bomb in Komamboga. Who released the bomb? Have they gone? Hey, do you know Katumba has been shot? Hey. So because we're living in a very fast, so people need to. I think for me, the COVID pandemic had some blessing in it. It stopped us and said, "Wait, guys, first relax."
Pablo,
it's nipped in the bud.
At that very point, when COVID is teaching you a lesson, is telling you, relax. Is where you're going to start from when you come back after a short commercial break, and you tell us what the relaxing was for.
Brethren, yes, we can. We can clear the debt of church house, and I want to invite you to give generously to the love gift. May God bless you as you give.
Do you know that you can now enjoy great enriching shows anywhere through the Family TV app? Here is how to download it. Open Play Store on your phone. Search for the Family TV app. Click Install. After installing it, open it and enjoy enriching content anywhere, everywhere, anytime. Family TV, enriching lives.
I welcome you on behalf of All Saints Cathedral, Kampala. My name is Reverend Moses, the priest in charge of missions. We welcome you to our November mission this year, which is beginning on 14th to 21st November. Our theme is Renew Us, Lord, from Lamentations chapter 5, verse 21. And our guest speaker is Reverend Canon Captain Richard Mayabi from Anglican Church of Kenya, and he will be speaking to us from Sunday 14th to Sunday 21st, lunch hours on Family TV, and also other programs to the youth, to marrieds, and also to UPDF and police of Uganda. We welcome you to All Saints Cathedral. Kindly come and be blessed in this mission. Thank you. God bless you.
The starting point of your soldiering, when they say attention and you hold your legs, you have made yourself a soldier.
And I said, now I know you want me to get saved, so I am going to get saved, but give me time. Can you imagine telling God, if you ask him for something, can you imagine him telling you, give me time?
I praise God that I was condemned, because if I wasn't condemned by man, then consequently I would have been condemned by God. But it's because of that human condemnation that led me to my salvation.
My dream husband was, I wanted a guy who was tall, light-skinned, and slim fit. And here is a dark, short guy, a bit plump. Definitely, that was not what I had asked God for.
Welcome back from the commercial break. This is Church of Uganda Family TV, and Edwin Austin Mukalas is my name. We are with Pablo, aka Chimuli Kenneth Ngobi Amote.
Omusada.
Hey, Omusada, we Kamuli.
Omusada. Ngobi.
So, before the commercial break, you had told us that COVID had told you, relax.
Mate, I think COVID was like the brakes, pedal. Because everything was going very fast. You know, in every dark cloud there's a silver lining. So guys, first breathe in, think through. And now we are in a creative process. We are back to the basement to start developing, writing. We had reached a point in the comedy industry when there were more calls to perform and less time to create. But now it has helped us to create. You sit back at home, no shows. The first citizen has said you're not performing until next year. You're like, okay, His Excellency. So now you're thinking, what do I do when the time comes? The people are going to be expectant.
Yeah, exactly.
People want to see what's
people
out
so
there.
Angry.
They're eager. They are burning with eagerness. What does Pablo have to offer? What is Pablo up to? Pablo is lost, yes. So you have to make sure that once the doors are open, you also have what to serve. You know? It is the feast. You know, remember the story of the feast, yes. The parable of the feast, where they called everybody come and eat and dance. So you have to. That's what it has given us an opportunity to also reconsider ourselves and say, what else can I do? We are online comedy, online. Everything is online. What's my contribution? How can I benefit from this? And for me, it has opened spaces that we least expected. All my life, I never hoped to perform for just a wall. You know why you get a camera, place it and you perform, and then you upload it and people laugh and you're not seeing them. You know, that's why I find Zoom is like working on radio. At least Zoom you can see people, but working on radio you don't see people. You even don't know whether they are there. You don't know if they have your but so you're just talking. So that's when it comes. So it gives us it creates a new you. You know, COVID has helped us behave like eagles. We had grown, our nails had grown so old, so now you have to go back to the mountains and first pull them up and, you know, remove the beak and, you know, let the new ones come, such that by the time they open us, there's a new Pablo. Maybe I might be a reverend.
Is that your dream?
Well, I love reverends. because of their reverence.
But you want to be one
Jesus is the answer.
for the world today.
Yes.
Okay.
But everyone is a reverend in their own right, as long
That's
as you're
true.
preaching the word. Yeah, you're.
So Pablo, doesn't your wife sometimes look back and says, "But this is now too much"? Eh?
My wife, you know the way God works, like Paul's daughter tract. So my wife is straight. My wife, I think she's the reason why I'm still held together. You know, that's why we are able to have life moving. Yeah, she takes life extremely seriously, even when you joke. Like, for example, if you ask her why did the chicken cross the road, she'll say, who opened for them? You know, like, I'm joking. But you know, she is multi-talented, and she can tell. She knows that this guy is just. She can know when it's a joke, and I think she was crafted just for me to understand this guy. Yeah,
Without you, no one.
Yeah,
else.
she can draw a line between Kenneth and Pablo, even when the two are having a conversation.
Okay.
Yes.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
So, why do you then come up with Peel Power and Tangaza Arts Center?
Yes, the reason why we entered into the campaign, when I was working on radio, there's a girl called Barbara Kemigisa in 2009 who came up to me and she told me I'm HIV positive, and I thought it was a joke because she was young. And then she said, I'm serious, and I said, why are you telling me? And said, because I want the world to know that you can still live, you can have a future. And I said, okay, what do you want? She said, I need a platform. I said, I don't own the radio, but we can start a campaign. So we started a campaign called Zip Up, and our aim was to move to schools and entertain them while they're enjoying. Then she comes and shares her testimony. But it was more like peer to peer, because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Exactly.
And there was a time when it was only the adults talking about HIV, and so we thought it was for only old people, not young people. Yeah, so we felt that them talking to their age mates, it would make more sense. And so we started that campaign, went to a number of schools, the campaign picked up. And the plus for me was that there are students who would come up and tell us secretly that actually I'm on medication and I don't want to tell people, but I'm dying. I feel like I'm tired. How do I tell my friends and I'm not stigmatized? And so we created a space where we deal with them. When they would come on holiday, we'd keep in conversation with them, tell them where they can pick medication. And as the years went by, so was Barbara growing. And Barbara fell in love and she wanted to get married. And she found a guy who was negative, wanted to marry her. And it became a big deal. The families were like, are you guys crazy? Yeah? And so they went against all the odds and said to get married. And when they got married, we thought and said, wow, the power of the pill. Because the reason the parents were like, it's okay, is because her viral load was to 0. When she tested, to test negative. Because of her determination to taking medication, taking it at the right time. And so, not saying that the virus had gone, but it was dormant, dormant. So they didn't have children, and up to this day, the husband is still negative. They have a son who's negative. She's still positive, and so we started what we call the Pill Power campaign. Pill, because the pills are your power bank. Yeah. They keep you going. So we Zip Up graduated into Pill Power. We went to different places, and that's when COVID came in. But now there are young people who are HIV positive and didn't have where to go home. So Barbara and her family decided they're going to start a home for them. So in Hoima, they are constructing a space for those who have been rejected to come and stay there. So it's powerful. I'm very passionate about HIV because, and I'm very worried because right now we are seated on a time bomb.
Exactly.
People are thinking about COVID. And now they are consuming each other in the act of love without protection, and time will come because people have just put it at the back of their mind. We think we are all negative, and if we don't pay attention to it, in the next few years there will be a certain time when people will be dying at a fast rate. Like you see how people were dropping of COVID, that's how it will happen for HIV. Because of now, people are not on medication. They're like, I think HIV went. We no longer have people talking about it as much as they used to.
And some others have lost hope.
So If we don't pay attention to that, we are sitting on a time bomb. And that's why I'm right now in my advocacy work. I started a foundation called the Nganjani Foundation. Nganjani is a Toro word for friend. Yeah, we're into health camps to also talk about other diseases. You know, to say how do we partner with other NGOs? How do we help the people out there to know that apart from COVID, there are also other diseases. You know. Yeah.
And then Tangaza Art Center, we had built it to help the artists, but unfortunately, like in any other one of our business, with the space we had gotten was a mortgage, which was sold off. But then the desire remained, yeah, and now we have what we call Tebere Arts Foundation. Tebere Arts Foundation helps emerging artists. Our plan was to help emerging artists. When people leave university who have done theater, drama, they don't have spaces to absorb them. Yeah. People who have done accounts go to banks, those who have done law go to law firms, those who have done, you know, like there are places to absorb them. But people who have studied music, dance and drama don't have a space to take them. That's true. It's you actually to create your plan, take it to the theater. Exactly. The theater is waiting to be paid for your space. So what we do as Tebere Arts Foundation, we help emerging artists find their path, you know. Do you want to be a director? Do you want to be a writer? Do you want to be a stage manager? Do you want to be a producer? And then we have what we call intensive theater labs. People submit, we call for applications, they submit, and then we select those we want to mentor. So we select like 20 people who we mentor intensively. Like I said, I'm so passionate about theater. We mentor them, and then it's a 2-week course, 2-week mentorship, aggressive. Then we also have a production. Recently we finished Tropical Fish by Doreen Bengana. So these people, after mentoring them, we attach them to bring out the play. Yeah, be the producer of this production, you're going to be in charge of this, so that they can get hands-on. When that is done, we now engage them in a festival. We have the Kampala International Theatre Festival to see how do you run a festival. Yeah, from just running a play to running a festival. For example, we have one coming up every last week of November. It's Kampala International Theatre Festival. This time we have to do it online because of the COVID SOPs. But that for us, as what was Tangaza and what we're doing as Tebere Arts Foundation, is to make sure that we empower the artists to be confident to fly on their own, regardless of not being absorbed in other sectors. Now, having had all these,
yes,
how do you get now the guts to stand as an area member of parliament?
It's a very interesting story. I love truth, and it always brought me into trouble when I was in school. Hey. Yes, all my life I was a class monitor in P3. You know, being class monitor, I was a food prefect, chairman, school council. But I don't like seeing people being... I love objectivity, I love truth. And when I was a chairman school council, they were an Imbarai school. There were some things I didn't like, the way they were treating our boys, the administration. And when we questioned it, were held as black sheep and were suspended. And that for me I didn't feel was right. And unfortunately, fortunately, there was a strike. It was a civilized strike. Yeah.
what do you call a civilized strike?
A civilized strike is where you don't fight.
Okay.
Where you protest. You have a peaceful demonstration. What happened, there was an assault case where one of the directors had beaten up the timekeeper. And we tried to raise it up, and we felt that it has to be addressed. It had been ongoing. We had cases. And so when this administration didn't address it, we walked to the police to report a case on a minor, and that it later graduated into, you know, when you walk it becomes chaotic. But then I chose to take a different path. But all these years, every time I would go to church, you know, I hear pastors, reverends, preachers on the pulpit calling for people, you have to go and stand and be the leaders. I'm like, but people know that politics is for liars. People know in politics you separate the wheat from the chaff and you concentrate on the chaff. You know, politics is for liars. Why should I? And then, like 2 years ago, 2 years to the election, I kept asking myself, what do these people go through? So I find guys who want to stand, and I ask them if I can be part of their campaign trail and document what they go through. But the politicians in them didn't allow. They said, no, you people know our strategies. People, I'm like, guys, I just want to make a story, a good story. And no one was willing. Then something told me about Pablo. What do you lose by standing and let the cameras follow you, and you see what? Because the taste of the pudding is in the eating.
Yeah.
So I said, let me take it. But because I was in Kampala, I knew that if I stand in Kampala, I want to get what I want. Yeah, people already know you as a comedian. They don't know whether you're serious or not. They don't know. So my aim was to find out, is it true that if you tell the truth, you want to get votes? Is it true that if you don't have money, you can't win votes? Is it true that if you don't talk ill about your opponent, you want to make votes? So those were my 3 things that
What
drove
about
me.
witchcraft? Didn't you?
Now, I didn't think about it until I went in it.
Oh.
So I get my cameras, we go for nomination, film the nomination.
We were all excited. Pablo is now.
and then I entered into it. I didn't know what I'd entered.
Hey.
It was crazy, cutthroat. Like, guys come to your home. What? Guys, I'm doing my own documentary. No money. Guys come, they want money. And God willing, my documentary should be out soon, but I purpose to release it on the 14th of January, because that's the day we voted. A year after voting is when I want to release, because there are lots of things that happen. Witchcraft is a mess. I had 3 witch doctors coming to me and telling me we have the powers of making you win. I'm like, take your things. So I don't know whether they're the ones, the reason why. And
how many did you get?
And I chose to
how
go to...
How many witch doctors came to you?
3. And I asked myself, if there are 3 witch doctors and all of them are claiming to be powers, who has the real powers? And then also, another thing that I found quite interesting is that people want money. And I intentionally went to a constituents where they don't know me. Bunyangabu County. Nobody, the few who knew me, like, it's a real, they're like, who's this guy? And that's what I was looking for. My findings will be seen in the documentary, which I've named How to Win or Lose Elections in Uganda. You'll watch it.
I have to.
Yes.
I can't wait.
You'll see the things politicians go through. When you tell them truth, after the campaign, I'll tell people, buy Pablo money. I said, there's no money. I'm not giving you money. Because I said, if you want me to help you, come to my foundation. I'll teach you people tailoring, hairdressing, shoemaking, but I'm not giving you money for Waraji to kill you. And then you come to me asking for a coffin. Bring your children.
On the way, much as you are planning for the documentary, did you pick any interest, just in case by chance you had gone through?
I didn't see it coming. Yeah, reason being, there are guys who had invested billions of money, and it was it's a money economy. It's Uganda is a deal economy. You have to crack deals. Yes. So I was like, you know what? And surprisingly, I reeled in a good number of votes. Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute, was this intention? Like, people like, hey, Pablo, they used to call me Nganjani Pablo, our friend Pablo. Nganjani Pablo, kimulikire tuweze kurungi. Omwana wetu kangunu yeija. Kimulikire amoti. Kimulikire tuweze kurungi. It was fun. I had a great time. I got to see people, got to know them, and right now, they ask me, are you going to stand again? I'm like, the only way I can stand is to stand with you in what you're going through. So now I'm organizing a health camp, want to go and vaccinate them, COVID, want to do HIV testing. So we're working. I have different partners in the health path that are working with me to make sure that we take this. I've asked God to help me use what I have. God has blessed me with some people who are willing to help to take service delivery to the people, and for me that's what counts. Yeah. Because I want them to have what they don't have, and to use what I have for them to get what they don't have, and I can also have what they have, and that's the joy after what they get, what they don't have. So I feel, for me, that's where my joy is.
Pablo has lived in the limelight.
Yeah.
Pablo has lived a celebrity life.
Yeah.
And we've seen what has happened to celebrities, or what has happened to people who live in limelight. You know, they're always in scandal. Sometimes adultery is unavoidable. How have you managed to make it?
I think it's God's grace, because I'm human. If you pinch me, I'll still feel the same pain.
Yes.
I can't say I've done anything in my own powers. It's God's grace. I also get the same temptations like any other Homo sapien. I am also exposed to vulnerability, but I do believe it's only God's grace. It's God's grace, nothing but God's grace. It's the one that opens your eyes, directs your thoughts, your speech, your actions, and it also, I can say that I've had my fair share of what I would think would be leading into evil, but I should say the inner man. Yeah, the inner man. For me, I can't lie to you. It's God's grace. It's God's grace. I've been in positions where there are immense temptations that will put you at the edge, but it's only God's grace that delivers you from the miry clay. Yeah.
Wow. When you look at the stand-up comedy that you brought on board in Uganda, that you introduced in Uganda, and you see the path it's taking, are you really pleased?
I can say for me, growth. Growth comes with the good, the bad, and the ugly. But and you have to allow it to find its space. Then you can prune. Yeah. Then you can remove. You can weed. You know. I love the fact that people have now accepted it as an alternative form of entertainment. They can now pay. When we had started, people never used to pay. You used just to come and. But now people can call you to perform at a wedding, at a corporate function. So they can call us to do that kind of stuff. I also like the fact that parents are now allowing their children, or are allowing the fact that you can be in the private sector with what is not a white-collar job and still make it in life. What I don't like about it is that it has, in a way, inclined to subjective comedy, which is tribalistic, it's racial, it's vulgar, and that jeopardizes our intentions and our initial purpose was. But I can't blame the comedians, because for them they have different kinds of audiences, and they're meeting the demands of an audience. Yeah, so it also speaks volumes about the moral fiber of the community and the society. If you have clean comedy and they don't appreciate it, and they appreciate under the belt jokes, then that speaks volumes about the consumer. So it's up to the comedians to alter the consumers' views and attitudes towards a predetermined line of thinking, so that they can now change and adjust to what you want them to do.
What advice do you have to young people out there who look at you as a role model and they want to live your footsteps, they want to be like you, they want to do what you do, but they don't know where to start from?
Well, if you want to, I can say for me, it's if you want to be a comedian, let me start with that. You have to be very observant, because comedy relies on observation. It's on research. What are people saying? What are people doing? It's like a reflection of the society. You should be able to ask questions, and then you should be able to read widely. Go to the internet, there are many jokes there. They say imitation is an invitation to elevation. As long as you can adjust it a little and it helps you to open your mind, your funny bone. And then we also encourage them to watch other comedians and see what are they doing, because different comedians have different styles. Yeah? And then you never know, you can find one that you might love and pick up. The other one, don't rush for success. Just do your thing, success will find you. Give it your best. Just think through what you're doing, be professional, and success will find you. But above all, pray. Pray, pray, and pray. Even if the prayers are not answered then, but just keep praying. Just keep praying. I like what Denzel Washington one time said, that if you hang around the barber shop, sooner or later you'll get a haircut. So you just have to keep on going, and there's what we call dying on stage. There are times when you'll go on stage and your jokes might not be funny. Don't give up. Go back, do a postmortem. Why wasn't I funny? What killed me? Is it the way I arranged the jokes? Is it the wrong audience? Once you get the postmortem results, get back on your feet. I've died 4 times on stage, on big audiences, but I've said I'll keep the faith, run the race. Yes.
Wow. Of course, we can't leave you unscratched. You have to scratch our audience.
Yes.
Yes, at least this evening.
Yes.
Let them laugh their lungs out at least.
Okay, I'll tell you about the downside of comedy as part of the joke. Now, you know, like every job, everything has an occupational hazard. Yeah? Like if you're a builder, a brick might fall on you or something. So it's the time I almost gave up on comedy. And that's when I went to South Sudan. They invited me to South Sudan. And they told them that Pablo is coming. And don't joke with those South Sudan people. They can research. They went to YouTube, they watched everything. I think they even wrote notes. Now Pablo comes, I go to South Sudan. And those brothers are tall. Yeah, you look up to all of them. You know, they're all tall. They're all, you know, dark. This man, there's a guy who was so dark, he looked like under the bed. You know, like the guy was so dark. Like 2 midnights combined. So I go there and I wanted to be relevant. So I read their newspapers. I said, now, Mbalina. The show comes, they invite Pablo. I go there, I start cracking jokes about Rick Machar, Salva Kiir. But I saw the guys, they were laughing in installments. I was like, these people, God, their laughter is for... I continued cracking jokes until when I said, thank you so much, that was my time. 3 Sudanese put up their hands. No, Pablo, there are some jokes you have left out. Like, huh? Yes. There's a joke about the sword people. You told that joke. I read on internet, I watched. I said, I thought the guy was joking. I was like, you watched it? He said, yes, there's this joke. Then he told me the story. The whole joke, though it is on what? On YouTube. Then he said, tell us that one. Tell us that one. I'm like, but you have just said it. Hello. The guy started turning from black to blue. That's when the promoter came. I said, Pablo, he came and told me, he called me and said, Pablo, you crack the joke, that's a general, he will shoot you. I jumped. You know adrenaline, when the guy mentioned shooting, I jumped, I started cracking the joke the way the man had said it, how he had watched it on YouTube. The man laughed. People were kai. I've never seen people laugh at a joke they have ever had. Then he asked the son, is that the joke you want? The son said, no, there's another one. That was my first time in life where there was a request hour for jokes. They asked for, I cracked jokes. I was about to finish the YouTube. Then they were laughing. Kai. Tell us about Obama, original black African. I'm like, original black. Kai. I'm like, that day I almost gave up on comedy. What was meant to be a 1 hour show turned out to be 3.
And no one was moving.
I tell you, it was like Panado 1 times 3. We really killed the pain. I came back, I was like, I should become a farmer.
You wanted to quit comedy?
I was tired of cooking jokes.
Well, that was Pablo. I know we cannot exhaust his we cannot exhaust his comedy, but of course it has been nice interacting with him, and we don't want to make him we don't want to do what the South Sudan people did. Which one have I left out? A lot. You've only mentioned about Obama, but of course, thank you so much for watching my story. Thank you so much for watching Church of Uganda Family TV. We were with Mr. Chimuli Kenneth Amoti Ngovi, aka Pablo, and you've heard his story. You've heard his journey, and I believe it has motivated you, it has encouraged you, but above all, it has given you a reason to smile again. You shouldn't, he told us at the beginning, you shouldn't look at life so serious as if you will not die. Smile, and then you will heal from some diseases. That's why some of us are not growing old. Are you growing old?
No. Statistics have proven that those who have more birthdays live longer. And so I have to make sure I live longer.
Okay. Well, I've worked with Jenna Jha, the producer, Bantam in transmission, and then Tony Sand on social media. Edwin Austin Mukalazi is my name. Stay blessed, enjoy your evening and night as well.